Have you felt it lately when you watch Boston play, like the Celtics suddenly look calmer, cleaner, and a step ahead every single night? This video dives into why Boston looks like it's locking into its peak right now, how the offense and defense are finally clicking at the same time, and why Jayson Tatum's evolving mindset is quietly changing everything on the court. This is not about one explosive scoring night, but about how the entire team flows, reacts, and thinks when he plays this way. Stay until the end because this version of the Celtics might be exactly the one the rest of the league has been hoping never shows up. If you have been watching the Boston Celtics recently, you probably sensed it before you could put it into words, because something about this team feels different right now. The ball pops, the spacing looks sharper, and even the rough stretches don't seem to rattle them the way they once did. This doesn't look like a team surviving on raw talent or lucky bounces. And it doesn't feel like a streak that fades once shots cool off. It feels like a team settling into who it's supposed to be, and once you notice it, it becomes impossible to ignore that Jayson Tatum is at the center of it all. What makes this stretch so fascinating is that Boston isn't peaking because Tatum is forcing his way to 40 points every night. They look better because he's playing with patience, control, and a kind of quiet confidence that reshapes everything around him. When Tatum slows the game down and lets it breathe, the entire offense suddenly clicks. Defenders hesitate, teammates move with intention, and possessions end with clean looks instead of rushed decisions, which raises a bigger question about how many games are really won by talent and how many are won by control. Right now, when Tatum has the ball, the Celtics never look frantic, even when the defense tightens and the pressure ramps up. He reads the floor, waits for the help to show itself, and forces defenders into uncomfortable choices. That moment of hesitation is where Boston keeps winning, because whichever option the defense picks, it feels like the Celtics already planned for it. Watching this version of the team naturally leads to one unsettling thought for opponents. How do you stop a group that always seems one move ahead? The offense flows more smoothly because everyone understands their role when Tatum plays this way. Shooters aren't guessing, cutters time their moves perfectly, and big seal defenders with purpose instead of drifting through possessions. That clarity makes the game easier for everyone, and you can see it in how confident Boston looks trip after trip down the floor. Instead of forcing action, they wait for the defense to blink first, and over 4 quarters, that patience becomes deadly. The difference shows most clearly late in games, where pressure usually exposes teams that aren't truly ready. In tight fourth quarters, Boston isn't settling for wild shots or watching one player try to rescue the night. They run their sets, trust the pass, and stay composed even as the clock shrinks. Tatum never looks rushed in these moments, and that calm spreads through the lineup, which is rare in games where every possession feels heavy. Defenses are clearly uncomfortable guarding Boston right now, largely because Tatum keeps them honest at all times. Send extra help, and the ball swings to an open shooter. Stay home, and Tatum attacks without forcing bad angles or reckless contact. That constant mental pressure wears teams down, not just physically but psychologically, because defenders can't gamble or relax without consequences. Over the course of a game, that stress builds, and that's usually when control quietly turns into separation. The defensive side of the ball tells its own story if you're watching closely. When Tatum is locked in defensively, the Celtics communicate better, switch cleaner, and recover faster after breakdowns. He uses his length and awareness to disrupt lanes and help on drives without overcommitting, keeping Boston from scrambling. Defense isn't just about effort, and this stretch shows how much smart positioning and timing actually matter. Another reason the Celtics feel like they're peaking is how comfortable the supporting cast looks. Jaylen Brown attacks freely without carrying the entire load. Derek White connects possessions with all the little things, and role players know exactly where they fit. That balance makes Boston harder to game plan against, because there's no single pressure point to attack all night. When a team spreads responsibility like this, it usually means they trust what they're doing. Big scoring nights always grab headlines, but what stands out most during this run is how Boston wins even when shots don't fall cleanly. Missed threes don't spiral into chaos, and opponent runs don't flip the emotional switch. The ball still moves, the defense still talks, and Tatum still makes the right reads. That consistency is one of the clearest signs of real basketball, not emotional basketball. Tatum's confidence also looks different than it did earlier in his career. Instead of forcing control, he looks comfortable letting the game come to him. He knows when to attack, when to pass, and when to simply steady the floor. That kind of confidence is dangerous because it signals a player who fully trusts himself and his teammates, which makes you wonder if this is the version of Tatum Boston has been waiting for all along. This stretch highlights how much maturity matters in the NBA, especially for stars. Tatum still has the ability to take over games, but he no longer feels the need to prove it on every possession. That restraint makes his scoring more effective and keeps defenses guessing. Watching him now feels less like watching someone chase moments and more like watching someone control them. It's also hard to miss how prepared the Celtics look compared to earlier in the season. They adjust quickly, stay composed when things go wrong, and stick to their identity even when opponents try to disrupt it. That preparation shows up in small details like clean rotations, smart fouls, and disciplined shot selection. Those moments rarely make highlights, but they decide playoff series. Another reason this run feels legitimate is that Boston isn't relying on one style to win. They can score inside, stretch the floor, run in transition, or grind in the half-court without losing rhythm. That flexibility makes them dangerous because it allows them to adapt without abandoning who they are. Tatum anchoring all of that without dominating every touch is what makes it work. It's fair to wonder whether this is just a strong stretch or something more lasting. The difference usually comes down to habits because hot streaks fade, but habits stick. Right now, Boston's habits look solid, and Tatum's approach reinforces them instead of breaking them under pressure. What separates teams that peak from teams that collapse is how they handle adversity, and Boston is responding with structure instead of chaos. When opponents make runs, the Celtics answer with discipline. When the pace slows, they stay patient. When the spotlight hits, they don't flinch. Those are signs of a team that believes in what it's building. As the season continues, it's worth noticing how often Boston makes the game look simple, because basketball is hardest when it feels rushed and scattered. Right now, the Celtics look connected, composed, and clear, and Jayson Tatum is the reason that clarity exists. He isn't forcing the moment, he's controlling it, and that difference changes everything. So, when people say the Boston Celtics are peaking and Jayson Tatum is the reason, they aren't talking about 1 week or one box score. They're talking about a team that has found its rhythm and a star who understands exactly how to guide it. And if this version of Boston keeps showing up, the rest of the league may be dealing with a team that isn't searching anymore, but arriving. If this made you see the Celtics a little differently, subscribe and stick around because this season is quietly shaping into something serious in Boston. These are the shifts you notice before the conversation catches up on TV, and they usually matter most when the game slows down in the spring. Follow the channel for more reads like this, because the teams that figured out early are the ones nobody wants to face when it counts.